Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully your New Year's went great. Ours went great here at Tattoo Collectables. And welcome to our second season here in 2020. Stick around. We got some stuff to show you today that I think you're gonna dig.
What's in the mail?
All right, so what is in the mail indeed? 2020 sees the return of my fabulous pink scissors. And let's get this show on the road, shall we? So to speak. All right. First one comes from Los Angeles, California. Now, I sent off for this one a couple weeks back. And when I saw it, I thought, there's something neat I've never seen. So this is a Wendy Worth photographer card. Now, Wendy Worth apparently was Spiderweb's photographer back in the 70s. And this is just a beautiful example of a card from back then. It's a glossy photo image. It's super nice. And it's got old Spider there on it, giggling it up, and you'll see the reason why. Here you go. Yeah, right there in the main business. Spider. So we met Spider down at the Tattoo Historical Society meeting in Winston-Salem. He's a character. We're going to do a whole episode on him eventually. I think that it'll be sometime this year, probably nearer to October, because we're going to go back down to Winston-Salem for the second annual meeting of the Tattoo Historical Society. We had such a great time last time that we're definitely going back. But I'm going to set it up with Spider to do his interview then, and you'll see a bunch more about this guy. I'll tell you what, he is a trip. He's a great guy, but he is an individual. Let me tell you. So this card is from the 70s, and it is the card that she would give people as an example of her work. I'm going to put a rough estimate on this at a $50 value. If you see another one of these, grab them up. I had never seen one before, and it wasn't under tattoo. Somebody had listed that under photographic images. It was just lucky that I found it. I typed in spiderweb, and that's what came up, and I was like, oh, well, glad I didn't just. You got to bury those keywords when you're searching, especially on eBay, because not everybody knows what they have or what it's normally called or where to put it or whatever. So they put it wherever they want. So definitely keep an eye out on that, and you'll figure it out. Now this one came from Atlanta, Georgia, from Euclid Avenue again. Now we've gotten things from them before, and it's always been that one came right off. It's always been nice stuff. This one was something that I had never seen one of these, and I thought, well, that's neat. Let's give that a shot. Let's see what else they put in here. And again, it is Matty Runks. We've heard from Matty before. Here's his little tatter tot on his card. I'm sure you remember that from Southern Star Tattoo. This time he sent us a Southern Star card. It looks like their aftercare card. We love these. We're glad to have them. I'll show you better pictures of those here in a second. But the main event on this little thing is this little thing here. Now this is I think it's from 1990. Yep, from 1990. This is from Good Time Charlie's Tattoo Land in Anaheim. But it's also got the other two. He had one in San Diego, he had one in Waikiki. And this is just it's a real neat little drawing. It's for a New Year's party, so I thought, what better time than the beginning of this year to show this one. So this one, this one's dated, and I'll tell you, it is in beautiful condition for being from 1990. But this is a Jack Rudy design on here. So when I saw the Jack Rudy design on there, I thought, I don't have anything from Jack Rudy, and Jack is one of the powerhouses in our industry. If you're not familiar with Jack Rudy, get familiar with Jack Rudy, because him and Good Time Charlie and those guys pretty much invented fine line tattooing. He's definitely worth remembering in the long run and even in the short run. Jack Rudy's an awesome guy. Definitely be respectful if you meet him, because he's one of those old school guys that you better respect when you meet him. Super nice guy though, really. So something like this was made for one party for 1 year, and then it was gone. This is made out of just a normal paper. I'm sure they had them printed, but this one is one of the ones that survived. Things like this, I'm not sure how they survived, and it came from Atlanta, so nowhere near where it even happened. But I mean, this thing has traveled a little bit, and now it's finally made its home to here, and this is where it's gonna stay. Something like this, I'm gonna put a $100 to $200 value on something like this because they are so rare. They were mainly meant to advertise things that were going on, and then they were gone. So stuff like that, I think they're a little more rare than the business cards or some of the other paper ephemera that you get, the catalogs and so forth. Because this was for one party, 1 year, one time, and then out it went. I'm sure people picked them up from that party. This guy did, whoever this was, so we appreciate that. Third thing in the mail this week. I am pretty excited about this, and I already opened it. You can see the package is already open, but I didn't investigate it too heavily. I was waiting on something else, non-tattoo related, and I thought this might be it, but it wasn't. Honestly, I have lost the cap off my Apple Pen 3 times now, so I'm waiting for the next replacement to come in. It's on its way. So this came from, let's see where it came from. It came from Upland, California. Now, originally it came from Las Vegas, California. It came from Las Vegas, Nevada. It is a gaming token, but on one side of it, it says Hart and Huntington Tattoo Company. Now, Hart and Huntington, for those of you who aren't familiar with Hart and Huntington, because I believe now that they are closed, they're no longer at the Palms. They were the tattoo show. They were on a tattoo show, and I can't remember exactly what the show was called. Somebody out there remembers, put it down here in the comments if you remember what the show was called. But they had a show inside of the Palms Casino. This is a $10 gambling token, and it's hefty, man. It is a weighty thing. It probably weighs at least an ounce, maybe more. If I had a way to weigh it, we'd weigh it, but I got rid of those scales a long time ago. But I'm assuming this one weighs probably an ounce, maybe 2. It's a heavy little coin. Now, it says limited edition $10 gaming token, Palms Casino. And on the other side, it says the same. It says Las Vegas, Nevada underneath it though. But that's a $10 token, and in the middle of it, it's kind of rattly too. I don't want to shake that too much because I feel it kind of rattling in there. But inside, in the middle of it, is pure silver. On the back, it says 999 fine silver. The outer edge of it, I'm sure, is brass, but the inner part is actually it's probably an ounce, maybe. It may be an ounce of silver in the middle. Super neat coin, and tattoo related. Now, here lately, I seem to be getting a bunch of tattoo related coins. I've got some wooden nickels. I've got some coins from Tuttle. He used to give out coins as a business card instead of giving paper business cards. Towards the end, he had a penny crushing machine and he was giving out crushed pennies. I've got several of those. I think here before too long, I'm going to make a large display of just the tattoo coins I've got. I've got a coin from the Pike that Catfish Carl sent me when I got a Jim Dandy from him. And I love these coins. I think that this year we might have coins minted for our gift certificates. So keep an eye out for that if you're local. So, that is what was in the mail this week. I know it wasn't a ton, but what we got I thought was cool. It's definitely worth a look. And if you can get any of this stuff, get it. It's like I said, this kind of stuff is dwindling. History in our industry. I was looking stuff up the other night. This is case in point. I was doing research for this show night before last, and I went to Wikipedia, which normally when you go to Wikipedia, you type somebody's name in, they come up. Something comes up about them anyway, especially famous people. But I looked up Charles Wagner. Nothing. A very, very small portion in Betty Broadbent's wiki about Charles Wagner. So the history of this thing needs to be documented. It needs to be put into video, put on paper, put on the web. If you're out there and you've got a collection, put it out there for the world. On Facebook, there is a Tattoo Historical Society page. Visit that, and then it's also going to help you find out who this guy was in this picture, who this tattooed lady was that you don't know a name of. Someone out there is going to know the name. We need to nail down all of that now, because the guys that do know it are starting to go by the wayside, and they're starting to go very quickly. If you know somebody out there that's been tattooing over 30 years, take them to lunch. Take them to lunch and listen to their stories, because we need this oral history put down on paper. And that is the first soapbox of the year, I guess. All right, so let me step down off that soapbox now, and let's get to another thrilling episode of the Tattoo Historian. This week, the Tattoo Historian episode is going to be on Percy Waters, so check this out. Most people would assume that the South during the 1880s was a backward, depressed area of America. Certain parts were, but not Percy Waters' hometown of Anniston, Alabama. Its founder, Samuel Noble Esquire, a wealthy manufacturer from Georgia, selected the site in 1869 and built a planned model city to fit his personal needs, making money. The area contained some of the world's largest and richest iron ore deposits, plus easy access to cheap railway transportation. Foundries, the backbone of the manufacturing, abounded, and by the time Percy Waters was born in Anniston on December 9th, 1888, the city was electrified and was the equal of any manufacturing center in the world. The city prospered from the beginning and never looked back. His father had a small business making shoes and boots for the prosperous citizens, but when Percy was 9, his mother died, and he went to live with his married sister across town. His sister's home was near the field where all of the traveling shows and circuses would set up and perform. Many nights he was late for supper, and when questioned about his tardiness, his answer would be he was down watching the new show set up, and sometimes he was lucky enough to get a job. He was fascinated with the sideshow's tattooed men and the occasional tattooed women, and he would watch them tattoo people between acts and after the show. If they weren't tattooing townies, they were working on the show folks. I was the kid they liked, so I was able to watch, listen, practice, and learn how to tattoo. But Percy was also an apprentice molder during his teenage years, and by the time he was in his 20s, he was listed in the city's directory as professional molder at the Union Foundry. This would be a cornerstone that would eventually develop into the largest tattoo supply business in America during the 20s and 30s. Between 1908 and 1913, Percy made several trips to New York City, the mecca of tattooing at the time, to meet and work with the artists in the area, and of course met with the star of the day, Charlie Wagner. During those years, M.F. Huff taught a course in The Secret of Tattooing and issued certificates upon completion of the course. His school was grandly named the Royal Art Institute and was located in the Arcade Building, 5th and Broadway, New York City. In 1913, A.L. Dugas received his certificate signed by the council, M.F. Huff president, Gus Wagner, and Percy Waters. But Percy always returned to his job at the foundry in Anniston and continued to tattoo on the side. Then suddenly, one day, Percy was in deep trouble. He tattooed a girl from a wealthy, influential family, and the heat was on. The family raised all kinds of hell, and he was told that it was best if he left town. Being an obliging man, Percy jumped on the next train, leaving for New York. The year was 1917. Percy was 27, and said to a friend, "I'll come back one day, and I'll buy this town." New York was full of tattoo artists with World War I in full swing. Charlie Wagner advised Percy to try another city, and he decided on Detroit, as he had heard that there was only one artist working there, Jesse Barber. Arriving in Detroit in 1918, he opened a studio at 70 Monroe Avenue in conjunction with the Arcade Casino owned by the Hyman Amusement Company. Detroit was heaven, a major port, and the money rolled in. 2 years later, he published his first supply catalog, Water Sells the Best, and boy, he sold everything an artist needed, right down to the thumbtacks. 100 in a box for 25 cents. He was a hell of a salesman, and his catalogs and flyers were the hard sell. "I give full value for every dollar received. Don't ask me to make these machines cheaper. It cannot be done." And it couldn't, because for $5 you got an outliner and a shader. Waters was also gaining reputation for his back and front pieces and full body tattoos. On May 28, 1922, the Detroit News ran a feature article on Percy. As Paris sets the styles for women's gowns, so Detroit is beginning to loom up as an arbiter of tattoo designs. Professor Percy Waters sets the example. People flocked to his studio on Randolph Street, and during this period, he tattooed many of the attractions that traveled with the circuses throughout the Midwest. Okay, so hopefully there was some info in there about Percy that you didn't know. I'm sure there was some in there that you did if you follow the industry at all. But these tattoo historians, I love them. I just love them because the history inside them is just like I was saying. It's that history that we need to get down. So that's all we have for you this week at Tattoo Collectables. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We definitely would love to see more subscribers and more likes on these videos. So until we see you next week, please, everybody be safe out there and keep on collecting. Hey everybody, thanks for watching, and please hit the subscribe button down below and check out these videos. We've worked real hard on these too, and I think if you enjoyed this one, you'll enjoy those too.